Welcome to the November 2020 Pending Home Sales Report for the Tallahassee real estate market. September through November have seen unseasonably strong buyer activity, resurrecting pandemic-slowed 2020 home sales to possibly post gains over the last year. Who would have thought this possible when the pandemic came to town early in March? Today's report is a thorough examination of new contracts in the Tallahassee real estate market. Hi, I'm Joe Manausa, author of The Business of Getting Business and the creator of Manausa.com, where I've helped tens of thousands of people buy and sell homes. I would like to help you too. If you already are a subscriber, thank you and welcome back. If you're not a subscriber, please consider becoming one now. We offer the most thorough and accurate housing market reports on YouTube, plus answers to your real estate frequently asked questions, and we also provide virtual tours of some of the most beautiful homes in Tallahassee. Simply hit subscribe to get started, and the bell so that you're the most informed buyer or seller in your next real estate transaction. This graph was assembled from data in the Tallahassee MLS on November 22nd, 2020. On that date, I retrieved all sales that were closed from January 19 through the first 3 weeks of November in 2020 and sorted them by contract date, not closing date. Additionally, I added all properties that are under contract and sorted the entire group by the date the contracts were written. What this data represents is all contracts written that are either still working towards closings or one that have closed escrow, thus the agreements were confirmed. What this data omits is all contracts that were written and subsequently failed to close. Each month, when I assemble a pending home sales report, failed contracts are removed so that we are only left with ones waiting to close or those that already successfully closed. Because of this, there's a high likelihood that the most recent months account for contracts that will not close, while most distant months will have very few open contracts remaining, as all others have either closed or failed to close by now. In other words, the past will remain pretty much the same, while the present will adjust as time moves forward. The blue lines in this graph report the number of contracts written in 2019 by month that are either still pending or have already closed. The gray lines report the same for 2020. Currently, the number of contracts written through 3 weeks of November has grown to 235 more than those written through all of November last year, a change of nearly 6% over last year's contracts, and we still have the final week of November to go. As a reminder, for returning visitors or a note to new friends, the Pending Home Sales Report only looks at current and closed contracts. Thus, contracts that fall apart were removed and will be removed from this data. Normally, this is where I warn you that a healthy percentage of these will not close, so the 47% growth of new contracts in October and the 24% growth in November will decline significantly in the future as the failed contracts fall out. But remember, we still have a week to go in November, so yes, some contracts will fail, but we'll also have some new contracts written. This means that year-over-year new contracts in October and November will very likely blow away the number written during the same 2 months of last year. It appears as if we're getting the strong fourth quarter that we forecast several months ago, as buyers who opted out of the market in the second quarter are racing back to take advantage of historic low mortgage interest rates. Through all of our inventory reports over the past few years, I have pointed out that we need more homes. We need existing sellers to put their homes on the market, but more importantly, we need builders to deliver additional homes to compensate for the lack of new construction over the past 6 years. This graph segments all closed and pending contracts by new versus existing home sales in order to see the increase in builder activity that we're finally seeing in the market. The blue bars measure existing home contracts, both pending and closed, by the date the contracts were written, while the red measures the same for new home construction. The red triangles show the percentage of contracts written each month that were new construction, and the red line is the one-year trend of that percentage. Last year, a little over 9% of the contracts written were for new homes, and we've seen that grow to just over 11% in 2020. As of right now, 105 more new construction homes have gone under contract this year versus last year, something the market has desperately needed and still needs significantly more. Using the same data, I calculated the average home price in 2020 each month and compared it with the same months in 2019. In last month's report, we highlighted the fact that there was a surge in high-end activity that occurred in September and October. This surge has cooled, and we've seen the market return to normal. Buyers are spending about 7% more in November than they were in November of 19. We have to remember that this is an interest rate-fueled buying frenzy, and it will slow considerably when interest rates rise. The high end could go nearly dormant if interest rates rise substantially. Year to date, buyers have been spending 10% more in 2020 than they did through November in 2019. One thing to note, though, is that the MLS does not reveal the contract price for pending home sales. That means for homes that have closed, we're using the actual sales price, but for those still under contract, we're using the asking price. This means that when all the homes tracked in this report close, it's likely we'll see difference between the 2 years tighten up a little bit, as most closed prices will likely be at or lower than most asking prices. The next graph in our report tracks the average home value in 2020 each month and compares it with the same months in 2019. It shows that the appreciation rate each month has ranged from as high as 14.3% to as low as 4.5%, with year-over-year change in November reporting values more than 8.5% higher than November 2019. Overall, the appreciation rate in 2020 is close to 9.25%, which is about 3 times the average we've seen over the past 30 years. With inventory remaining at historical lows, this could very well go much higher. As reported in numerous other market updates, we continue to see low inventory levels in most areas and price ranges below $500,000, and this is the biggest contributor to the accelerated appreciation rate. Now is a great time to sell a home, as buyers want to take advantage of historically low mortgage interest rates before they go away. This next graph identifies when the current pending and closed contracts were written, with closed contracts shown in blue and pending contracts shown in red. Currently, there are 598 Tallahassee homes for sale in the MLS that are already under contract with buyers. These are pending contracts. This represents a decline of about 7% since our last report revealed 645 homes under contract. This is the first real sign that the market is slowing in the past 3 months, though it's still far more active in November than we expect to see this time of year. When we examine the current pipeline of pending home sales, we see that 93% of them were written in the past 80 days, so roughly 1 in 14 contracts is fairly old. The old contracts have been greatly reduced since our last report, so maybe some of the agents have been cleaning up bad data in the MLS. Even though the market has entered the year-end slowdown period, the 386 written thus far in November is much higher than we would see in a normal year. Remember, this graph shows closed and pending contracts by the date they were written, and there were 66 contracts that were written in November that have already closed, and another 320 awaiting closing. This means that 386 contracts have been written in November, and we still have another week to go before November concludes. We expect the Thanksgiving period to slow our pace for a few days, but November is poised to be much stronger than November of last year. It's important to understand what this means. Yes, demand has fallen about 7% from last month, but it's still very strong, and the limited inventory of homes for sale means that the relative demand relative to the current supply of homes, has not changed from the scorching pace begun a few months ago. Buyers are wanting to take advantage of low mortgage interest rates, so now's the best time to sell a home that I've seen in my 30 years selling homes in Tallahassee. The year-over-year home sales graph has been set up in a different fashion than all previous graphs in this report. Note that this one shows all homes sold segmented by the date of closing, while the past graphs were assembled based on contract dates. 3 of the past 4 months have posted gains over the same months in 2019. Through the date of this report, the market is down just 1.8% for the year, but that includes a partial November in 2020 with a full November in 2019. Because of this, it appears as if 2020 could still outperform 2019. In my last pending home sales report, I forecast that this would indeed happen. I've seen nothing in the past 30 days that would change my forecast, so I'm still expecting 2020 to end up as the 4th strongest year on record for closed home sales. This graph shows annual home sales from 2002 through 2020, with this year's sales through November 22nd. With roughly 40 days remaining in the year, we need about 425 more sales to post a higher number than in 2019. This would make 2020, pandemic and all, the 4th best year on record, trailing only 2004 through 2006 for the number of homes sold. While the COVID pandemic continues to impact our way of life, its impact on home sales has been neutralized by low mortgage interest rates. Reluctant home sellers need to take note. Current conditions are the best I've ever seen for getting top dollar for your home while also selling it on a predictable timeline. I am confident that the seller's market conditions will continue for the foreseeable future, but I do believe 2 market forces will eventually reduce the advantage that current home sellers enjoy. Number 1, mortgage interest rates are going to rise. Who knows when, but certainly they won't stay this low forever. When that happens, demand at the top of the market will erode significantly and decline throughout the lower price ranges. And number two, sellers who were waiting for the pandemic to pass will eventually stream into the market. Again, I'm not concerned about the market flipping to a buyer's market below $400,000, but the supply and demand dynamic will be modified and sellers won't be as strong as are today's sellers. If you know you want to move, you should strongly consider doing so immediately while both these forces are working to your advantage. Regardless of what you decide, we'll be here to keep you up to date on the listings and home sales in the Tallahassee real estate market. If you would like to see more videos about current housing market conditions, I've assembled a great playlist that you can view by clicking on the box on the top left corner of your screen. For a playlist of top tips for home sellers, just click on the box below it. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything.